Feilu Novel Network A.Level Contracted Novel. Comprehensive Manga. The cultivation method of the king of the Shura field. This is a parallel world of anime and 3 dimensions. There are no Naruto, no Pirate King, and a blank field waiting to be filled again. This article is a daily routine, not brainless. There was some slow heating in the early stage, please forgive me. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Shinzo Kanzaki. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kyoto, as one of the financial and economic centers of the Far East, is far more prosperous than people imagine. On both sides of the neatly lined road, there are tall buildings displayed. Looking down from the tall building, humans are like ants in size, constantly coming and going in the crowded streets. Far from the city center, the bustling atmosphere is slightly reduced, but it is more luxurious. This is a high-end residential area where wealthy people gather. In one of the high-end apartments, a young man looked at himself in the mirror, his face full of disbelief. Self. Is this a time travel? Cheng, a young man from Blue Star, emitted a soul-like interrogation in front of the mirror. A handsome face was reflected in the mirror. Black short hair, thick eyebrows like swords, deep and shimmering eyes full of shock. This is a face that fits the adjective handsome wherever it is placed. The masculine features are reflected in the mirror, yet inexplicably highlight a touch of elegance, and the innate nobility is hard to conceal no matter what. The only slight deficiency was the slightly pale face. For Cheng, this face is very handsome, and it was definitely the appearance he had dreamed of in his past life. But now, all he has left in his heart is a lie down. Because this face is not what he looks like. He walked away from the mirror in confusion, looking around at the unfamiliar yet luxurious environment, with one mystery after another in his heart. He took a deep breath and quickly washed his face. The cold water slapped his face, making him slightly more conscious. He secretly warned himself to stay calm. Undoubtedly, based on everything in front of us, if we were not dreaming, there would only be one possibility left: I've traveled by myself. And it's still crossing into a completely unfamiliar world. He walked barefoot around the apartment when he reached a room that looked like a study. A neat school uniform is hung next to the wardrobe. Cheng could tell at a glance that this was definitely not the school uniform system of the Heavenly Dynasty, but rather the neon school uniform in his memory. Cheng walked over and saw a document hanging on his black and white school uniform. He quickly picked up his identification document, and under the blue background photo, there were several paragraphs of text. Name: Shinzo Kanzaki. Class: Class A, Grade 3, Shenyi Private High School Student ID. *** Shinzaki Shin. Is this the name of the original owner of this body? Wait, why can I understand? Cheng's pupils narrowed, and if he remembered correctly, the text on the document was in Japanese. Immediately after, a sharp pain came to his mind, and Cheng covered his head and let out a painful roar. Then, with a snap, Cheng fell to the ground. After an unknown amount of time, the hunger emanating from his stomach made Cheng open his eyes. Unlike his previous unfamiliarity and confusion, his deep eyes at this moment were full of sighs. The intense pain in his brain caused him to merge with the original memory of this body. At this moment, Cheng, no, from now on, he is Shinzaki Cheng. Without a doubt, I have traveled through time. And traveled to a country similar to the neon lights of the past. Countries that existed in the past, such as the Heavenly Kingdom and the United States, also existed one by one. Unlike in previous lives, the Heavenly Kingdom had long established its position as the hegemon of the Far East and was known as the world's 2 poles along with the United States. This neon-like country has not been indirectly ruled by the United States, but has simply fallen towards the heavens. In short, This is an otherworldly world that is similar to the past but somewhat different. As for the more specific content, Shinzo Kanzaki couldn't recall it for a moment. After all, he has just merged his memories and is not fully familiar with them. Looking at the luxury inside the apartment again, Shinzo sighed inwardly. In his past life, he was a diligent ACGN industry worker, progressing step by step from the grassroots to the middle management of the company. Although there hasn't been much achievement, at least I managed to get by pretty well. Unfortunately, due to an accident, when he woke up, he was already in this world. According to memory, the predecessor of this body was a wealthy second generation. This can be seen from the luxury of the apartment. As for Shenyi Private High School, it is the best private high school in Kyoto. Those who can enter Shenyi Middle School, apart from those who are either wealthy or prestigious, are also top students from various districts in Kyoto and even from all over the country. Things are really unpredictable. In his young body at the age of 18, Shinzo Kanzaki is a mature soul approaching the age of 30. After understanding the current situation, he quickly calmed down without much panic. At the same time, he was also somewhat fortunate that he had not traveled to any high martial arts continent and could easily use one move to destroy the sky and earth. I haven't traveled back to ancient times and can still enjoy the convenience of industrial civilization. Although this world is different from its past life, its overall way of life is similar. And my body is also a wealthy second generation. He is not sure how rich he is, but at least it can make him not as hardworking as in his previous life. I can also be considered a bourgeois. Shinzo Shinzaki sneered at himself and stood up to start looking for food. The feeling of hunger on an empty stomach is really uncomfortable. Just as Shinzo Kanzaki was going to cook, the phone on the table clanged. It is a new information reminder. The name of the sender is prominently written. Koki Zeng Xuecai. Kanzaki Jun, please don't skip classes anymore, come back and have a good class. Through the screen, one can feel the sender's resentment. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Becoming a great ACG culture creator. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Opening the refrigerator, there was nothing as Shinzaki Shinsei had expected. On the contrary, meat, vegetables, and vegetables come in various colors and are all available. It seems that this guy really enjoys cooking for himself. Shinzo Kanzaki naturally started his own cooking. He spent most of his past life alone, and cooking was a normal thing for him. It's not that Shinzaki praised himself, his cooking skills are almost the same as some professional chefs. He is not very familiar with Japanese cuisine, so he can only make Chinese home-cooked dishes. After cooking and eating, hungry Kamasaki Shinzo didn't even take his phone and neatly finished all the food in front of him. After filling his stomach, Shinzo Kanzaki finally saw the phone on the table. Smartphones, oh, it seems like I can't be Steve Jobs anymore. Shinzaki joked to himself and naturally turned on his phone. That message also naturally caught his eye. Have a good class. Shinzaki rubbed his head and felt a slight headache. My predecessor was a wealthy second generation. Although I didn't go around playing around, I still had a strong resistance towards classes and other things. During the 3 years of basic high school, it was through relationships that I managed to barely avoid failing grades. This seemingly silent act of resistance is seen by Shinzo as a childish manifestation. Learning something, although it cannot completely change a person's fate. More or less, it will give this person more priority in choosing important life checkpoints than those who do not study. It's not just about grades, but also about the insights that learning brings to the outside world. Shinzo Kanzaki sighed, his gaze unconsciously seeing the name of the sender of the message. Xiaomu Zeng Xuecai. As Kawasaki muttered the name, a sense of familiarity suddenly surged in his mind. This sense of familiarity comes not only from his own memory, but also from the original memory of his predecessor's body. With a gentle thought, a beautiful and indescribable face automatically appeared in Shinzo's mind. The long green hair in brown color is playful with a pair of ponytails, and the facial features are delicate yet soft. The slightly open red lips always hang a warm smile like crescent moon. Just a gentle smile is enough to warm up the cold of the entire winter. This is the memory of Akira Kanzaki's predecessor, about Akira Koki. Besides being incredibly beautiful and having a warm personality, this great beauty is also the president of the student union at Shenyi Middle School. At the same time, he also serves as the class monitor for Class A in 3rd grade. In other words, for Makoto Kanzaki's constant skipping of classes, Yukichi Koki is fulfilling her duties. And when Shinzo Kanzaki himself realized it, his expression was filled with surprise. The beautiful face in his mind is exactly the same as that in his memory. Zaimusing Xuecai. The female lead of White Album 2. Shinzaki took a deep breath and his hands trembled unconsciously. At first, he thought he was traveling to a parallel world similar to the blue star in another world. It seems that this his mother world is not only a parallel world, but also a parallel world combining anime and three-dimensional. Apart from panic, Shinzo Kanzaki calmed down and found that he was more in an excited mood. As an anime culture lover and practitioner, Shinozaki also likes anime characters. White Album 2, as a very famous work in his past life, is naturally familiar to Shinzo Kanzaki. Even, he himself is a white scholar. Although not as introverted and crazy as regular otaku, Kawasaki has also taken on the role of the male lead. In the works of the anime, there are few brilliant male masters, especially those with the theme of the harem. Most male leads are cowardly and cowardly trash. When Shinsei Kawasaki comes to the world where anime and the third dimension are integrated, he naturally needs to play the role of a passer.by. What excites him even more is that the world recognizes polygamy. Due to World War II, a large number of men died in action. Even today, I couldn't recover. The Neon government had to take some other measures to vigorously encourage childbirth. The combination of the anime and the third dimension makes the harem reasonable, plus the identity of the rich second-generation noble son. This is a paradise for Shinsaki Shing, who loves anime culture. After being excited, a hint of worry appeared in Shinzo's heart. Travelers usually have a system, but after waking up for so long, why hasn't the system awakened yet? Don't I have a system? Makoto Kanzaki claims to have some talent, but he can never compare to the big shots like Jack Ma in his past life. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been just a middle-level manager in his past life. When I was young, I would complain that I came from a bad background and didn't have much background. When Shinzaki Cheng truly matures and understands the fierce competition and development rules of the industry. He only then understood that he wanted to become a leader in an industry and even occupy a dominant position. Relying solely on the background is far from enough. It also requires favorable timing and location, as well as personal talent and inspiration. Qin too was born as a descendant of the imperial family. Who was better off than him at that time? After inheriting the throne, he has not yet lost all his foundation. No, I'm a traveler, this is the biggest golden finger in itself. Shinzo Shinzaki calmed down and pondered slowly. This world is very similar to the past, but there must be some differences in its content. Perhaps there are deficiencies in the industrial chain. As long as you find one, based on your memory advantages and background, you may become the leader of a new industry. He quickly opened his computer, and both the desktop and operating system were familiar Microsoft systems, while the browser was Google. There are other software, all of which are well-known foreign research and development software from previous lives. It seems that most cases are consistent with blue stars. Shinzaki Cheng opened his browser and the first thing he searched for was the situation in the ACGN industry. He himself is a practitioner of ACGN, and if he is looking for a gap in an industry, he will definitely start from the ACGN industry. And this country is the same as the Neon in previous generations. Young people have a fanatical attitude towards the anime culture. Capcom, Nintendo, Sega, Dragon Ball, Saint Fighter, Slam Dunk Master, one club after another, and the terms of manga popped out of Shinzo's mouth. ACGN stands for short for animation, comics, games, and light novels. Shinzo Kanzaki has worked in both the comic and gaming industries in his past life. After searching once, Shinzaki breathed a sigh of relief. There are no Naruto, no One Piece, no Grim Reaper. None of the three major migrant workers comics exist. The Demon Tale is not there, and the Sword God Domain is not there either. Shinozaki's eyes emitted a strange light, twinkling like the stars in the pitch-black sky. It seems that I am going to do a copycat job myself. Ah no, to be a great creator of ACG culture. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Memory is the golden finger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In addition to comics, Shinzo Kanzaki also discovered that many works did not appear in this world. For example, the Moon World, and many famous games from previous lives. After all, Makoto Kanzaki is not omnipotent, he excels in manga and games. Other industries in the anime are not particularly well understood, at least not as good as professional practitioners. Although he has also played the Fate series of games. But it doesn't mean he can build the entire worldview on his own. And it's better to walk step by step on the road, and you can't eat a big fat person in one bite. Start with comics first, and when you have gained a certain level of fame and status, it's not too late to proceed with other creations. Although he doesn't know much about it, in the anime field, an excellent creativity is often the key to the success of a work. This principle also applies to many industries in various fields. He cannot create alone, but he can cooperate. He provides ideas and creativity, collaborates with companies from around the world, and by then, he will not have achieved great success. This life needs to be fought hard. Shinzo Kanzaki murmured silently in his heart. Shinzo Kanzaki is a person who moves quickly. After making up his mind, he immediately began to devote himself to the creation of comics. It seems that I won't be able to buy the drawing tool until tomorrow. Let's write the outline first. Shinzo Kanzaki walked to the study, took out a new thick notebook, and wrote 4 large characters in the blank space on the first page. Naruto, as a passionate battle manga, Naruto realistically portrays a highly illusionary world from a ninja's perspective. It had a circulation of up to 200 million copies in its past life, second only to OP. Its audience is mainly teenagers, and its passionate content and cool abilities will undoubtedly make every teenager fall in love with it at first glance. And it is not only popular in East Asia, but also has gained many fans in the West. With Naruto as his debut work, Shinzo Kanzaki can definitely become a big shot in the manga industry in an instant. There are no tools for creating comics in the apartment, so Shinzo Kanzaki plans to first write out the outline of Naruto. After all, at the end of the day, a long and passionate manga relies on its plot and storytelling skills. Cool ability is just one of the external means of attraction. The core of the story is the key. The pen fell on the paper and there was a rustling sound of writing. Originally, Shinzo Kanzaki was worried about whether he could create the passionate and lengthy manga Naruto on his own. Although he has read Naruto carefully and thoroughly, such a lengthy masterpiece would even be overlooked by AB himself, let alone readers. To Shinzo's surprise, as soon as he finished writing, all the content about Naruto came to mind automatically. This feeling is like an open book exam. The memory in my mind is like a blackboard with answers written on it, and Shinzo is just copying and recording the answers. The more he wrote, the smoother Shinzo's thoughts became, and the entire process did not stop at all. He quickly completed the outline of the first Naruto installment. Is that so? Shinzo Kanzaki felt a hint of doubt in his heart as he deliberately set Naruto aside and wrote the outline for another passionate manga. The situation was the same as before. When Shinzo Kanzaki finished writing, the content of that passionate manga naturally came to mind as if it were written with answers. Shinzaki wrote for a while before shifting to another target. This time, he started with light novels. The situation is still the same. As long as Makoto Kanzaki firmly holds on to his thoughts, the content of a particular work will automatically come to mind when he finishes writing. Shinzaki took a deep breath, with an irresistible expression on his face. It seems that he doesn't lack golden fingers. His brain, his memory, is like a computer, firmly remembering every word he has seen and read in his past life. In addition to the advantage of a memory prophet, his memory is comparable to that of a computer and also a powerful golden finger. But when Shinzo Kanzaki tried to think of some works he had never seen before, all that came to mind was a blank slate. It seems that only works that I have completely seen or read myself will be recorded. Shinzaki Shin muttered to himself. To test, he picked up one of the profound philosophy books from the bookshelf and quickly browsed through them. When he closed the book and reminisced, the content of the philosophy book was presented to him word for word. Indeed, it is. Shinzaki couldn't help but clench his fist and shout loudly. It seems that this golden finger not only records the works he has learned in his past life, but also applies to this world. In other words, Kawasaki's brain at this moment is like a high-energy computing machine with an ultra-powerful camera. Anything he has seen or read will be firmly engraved in his memory. As long as he needs it, this part of the memory will be presented to him. When he doesn't need it, this part of the memory won't appear either. Compared to the advantage of memory prophets, Shinzo Kanzaki believes that this is his true golden finger. Superb memory. Indeed, there are still benefits for travelers. Kawasaki's excited mood surged throughout his body. Although it was already late at night, he did not feel any drowsiness, but instead his spirit became increasingly excited. He decided to spend one night writing the entire outline of Naruto. As for the detailed outline and manga, let's wait until tomorrow or the day after. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Tram Encounter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The twilight of the morning gradually scattered on the earth, and the birds hummed softly to disperse the night. Unconsciously, time had already arrived early the next morning. Shinozaki sat down at his desk until the warm light from the curtains shone into the room, and he finally realized it. Originally, I had already coded the outline code for a whole night. Is it morning? He looked at the clock, the hands aligned with the number 7. 7 o'clock in the morning, no more, no less. Let's go to class. Shinzaki Cheng put down his pen, stretched lazily, and got up to wash up. To be honest, Shinzo Kanzaki has little interest in high school courses. But he was a bit curious about Koki Zenkai. Maybe Dongma and Sha are also at Shenyi Private High School. After all, Kawasaki is still full of expectations for these two goddess-level characters. Moreover, Makoto Kanzaki has not experienced the feeling of reading for a long time. He didn't pay much attention to his high school and college years in his past life, but instead often recalled them in his later work years. So, for him, experiencing high school life again can also be considered as making up for the regrets of his past life. With this expectation in mind, Shinzo Kanzaki quickly finished washing up. He put on a black and white school uniform and looked at his handsome features in the mirror. He had a slightly upturned mouth and a faint smile, exuding an inexplicable elegance of a noble child. The facial features of this body are really outstanding, and the figure is just right. The black and white school uniform he wore, coupled with the maturity of his inner soul, showcased a unique charm in every move he made. This is a new beginning, Shinzo Kanzaki. Shinzo took a deep breath, tied his tie, carefully tidied up his collar, and turned to leave the apartment. There is a distance from the apartment to Shenyi Private High School, but it is not far. As a second-generation wealthy man, Shinzo Kanzaki has his own car located in the parking area under his apartment. But at such a short distance, driving is a bit of a fuss. And if you drive by yourself, parking at school can be troublesome. So, Shinzo Kanzaki chose the most convenient mode of transportation. Tram. The tram is somewhat similar to the subway in China. Although there are some differences, they all belong to a fast and convenient mode of transportation. The morning crowd is very crowded, mostly consisting of office workers and students. Standing at the station entrance, looking at the short-skirt JK coming and going, Shinzo couldn't help but sigh. The JK method is good, drip. The tram arrived at the station soon, and Shinzo Kanzaki followed the crowd and barely squeezed into the tram. Under normal circumstances, trams do not experience such overcrowding. He just happened to catch the peak season, when the traffic was at its peak. Inside the carriage, there were crowds of people everywhere. The fragrance of shower gel, different kinds of perfume and men's cologne are mixed together. Unlike the crowded crowd, the situation inside the carriage is somewhat quiet. It's so quiet that it feels a bit eerie. Especially for outsiders like Makoto Kanzaki. I will definitely not make it to this time next time. Kawasaki Cheng silently roast. This person's crowded situation is comparable to a tourist attraction during a golden holiday, almost squeezing him out of breath. Even he has seriously considered whether to hire a driver. Or you can take a taxi to school next time. Shinzo Kanzaki originally wanted to take out his phone to pass the boring time. But when he turned his gaze to the girl somewhere in the carriage, his eyes suddenly shrank and he gave up the idea. The girl is wearing standard JK high school attire, with knee-length stockings wrapped around her slender legs, and her fair skin can be seen through the black stockings. A head of black long hair naturally droops, and the bangs on the forehead playfully curl up a few times. Underneath the green silk, there is a delicate and angelic appearance that can be pitted at a glance. The pitch-black ink eyes flickered with a hint of unease, and the tightly pursed red lips showed a hint of timidity, exuding an inexplicable aura throughout. This is an absolutely beautiful girl. Even using a goddess to describe it is not an exaggeration. And the badge printed on her school uniform chest also tells Shinzaki Shin. This is a girl from the same high school as him. But this is not a reason for Shinzo Kanzaki's surprise. He was surprised because he knew the girl himself. If Shinzaki Makoto remembers correctly, the name of this girl should be Gianai. That's right, Gue Yenya. It is Gue Yenya, who is known as the founder of Sik Jiao and serves as one of the female leads in her works, schools. Gue Yenyi has appeared. Isn't it the world of Shiyuan Temple? Is this world a mixture of multiple anime worlds? Never mind, since there's Cheng, there's no need to panic myself Chengge. And so on. Shinzo Kanzaki suddenly realized that his name was Shin. Hush. As soon as he remembered the scene of Chenge's heroic sacrifice, Shinzaki Chengge couldn't help but take a cold breath and his body trembled. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Be good, seeking flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gue Yenya is a very well-behaved girl. At least in the eyes of outsiders, even her parents, she has always been a good child since childhood. From childhood to adulthood, Gue Yenya has never resisted her parents' arrangements. Even if she missed the opportunity to engage in normal interpersonal communication due to her parents' arrangements. Due to personality flaws, Gue Yenya is a girl with little sense of security. Combined with the negative impression left by her middle school years, she has an instinctive fear of interpersonal relationships, but also some longing. She has no friends. Because of her wealthy family background, she is seen as a daughter in the eyes of others, and she is also beautiful, which naturally creates a sense of distance. With the arrangement of her parents, she almost always refuses invitations from her classmates, and in the eyes of outsiders, she gradually becomes understood as superior. So throughout her middle school years, she was alone on her own. Even now in high school, she still follows the lonely life of middle school. Campus life for her is just one of obeying her parents' arrangements. Her gentle personality naturally manifests itself in her temperament. With that delicate and pitiful appearance, it's easy to drive people crazy. It seems that even if she takes advantage of something, she won't speak up and resist, right? Especially in such crowded and quiet situations, such thoughts can spread and breed like weeds. Shinzaki looked at Katsura Yoshiba, and naturally he could see some malicious people. Those people kept pushing in the direction of Goei-yenya, even though she always dodged, but they still didn't give up. Despite having enough space, those people still leaned towards Goei-yenya. Goei-yenya looked at the increasingly crowded space, like a weak kitten trapped in a corner with nowhere to escape. Her pitch-black eyes flickered with increasing unease, and she tightly grasped her backpack with her jade hands, avoiding malicious collisions time and time again with her delicate body. She regretted taking the tram a bit. Originally, her parents planned to have the driver pick her up to and from school. Goei-yenya felt that after entering high school, he should no longer distance himself from his classmates like in middle school. She thinks she should try to be independent. Her parents have no objections to this, and even encourage Goei-yenya. After all, independence is a good thing for everyone. I used to be afraid that my daughter was still young and easily bullied. But in high school, blindly protecting her will only make her more distant from this society. It's just that her parents may not have realized it. It is a very serious thing to let a lamb who knows nothing enter the wolf pack at once. School, haven't you arrived yet? Goei-yenya once again avoided the malicious collision, biting her small mouth and murmuring silently in her heart. Her personality is so gentle. Even if the malice was so strong, she instinctively assumed it had not happened. Of course, Shinzo Kanzaki will not sit idly by. He pushed away the crowd and whispered, "Please lend me a hand." He passed through one person after another and walked to Goei-yenya's side. Watching the ugly-looking man next to him attempt to lean over again. Shinzaki didn't even think about it, he grabbed the man's suit jacket with one hand and pulled back hard. The man stumbled and almost fell. Fortunately, there were many people on the tram, which shared some of the thrust for him. The man stabilized his figure and looked fiercely at Shinzaki Shin. But when he met the deep and warning eyes of Shinzo, the man immediately dared not speak. "Get away, you know what?" Shinzaki leaned into the man's ear and whispered. His tone was very cold as winter snowflakes. The man felt a chill in his heart and quickly turned his head away, afraid to take another look. Addressing the man, Shinzo Kanzaki turned his gaze and looked at Katsura Yoshiba. Goei-yenya's eyes were fixed on Shinzo Kanzaki, her mouth slightly open, and a hint of surprise appeared on her expression. Shinzo Shinzaki stood forward, and Gi and I instinctively stepped back, pressing her back directly against the car wall. Shinzaki Shinsei extended his hands and placed them on both sides of Katsura Yoshiba, one left and one right. This action is like a wall thumping. Shinzaki Shin's wall was a thud, isolating everyone nearby from Katsura Yoshiaki. But in the eyes of outsiders, Shinzo Kanzaki's move is clearly an attempt to monopolize. Looking at Kawasaki's handsome face and elegant aristocratic temperament, no one dared to speak for a moment. Goei-yenya stared blankly at Shinzo Kanzaki, and it took several seconds for him to react. In an instant, a few blushes appeared on her fair little face, and her voice was like a mosquito fly saying, You. Shinzo Shinzaki gently placed his finger on his lips, with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Be good, dong. 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 Looking at the handsome face in front of me, this gentle and sunny smile. At this moment, Goei-Yenya felt like she was about to suffocate. Her heart suddenly quickened, like a dense drumbeat, constantly stimulating her nerves. She instinctively nodded and made a move that surprised Shinzo. I saw Goei-Yenya actively reach out and embrace Shinzo Kanzaki, burying his head on his shoulder. Some righteous people saw this scene and couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh, so it's a couple. Just now, when the man saw Goei-Yenya actively embracing Shinzaki Shin, his heart's sour energy couldn't help but burst out. That's a goddess. But he can do nothing except pantothenic acid, the most sour lemon. He didn't even dare to take another look, afraid that Shinzaki might cause him trouble. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Be a different Chengge, seeking fresh. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Holding his delicate body in his arms, Shinzaki Cheng felt a bit at a loss. He even felt a slight panic, even raising his hands high. Goei-Yenya's actions caught Shinzaki Shin off guard. To be honest, Gai Yen is an absolute beauty from any perspective. Being actively embraced by such a beautiful woman is a benefit for any normal male. But Shinzaki Shinsei didn't think so. Considering the deep impression of the Shibata girl in her previous life, Shinzo Kanzaki instinctively took on the role of Shingo. Despite being a hand in the world, in the end, Goei-Yenya also experienced a pathological separation of the head. Thinking about Chengge's fate, Shinzaki Cheng shuddered. But a mature mindset quickly calmed Shinzo down. Goei-Yenya is not in the world of Shiyuan Temple, why are you panicking? In fact, looking at it from a different perspective, the reason why Goei-Yenya transformed into a sickly and delicate girl is not unrelated to Chengge's foolish behavior. It was Chengge who pushed Goei-Yenya into the abyss of despair, not even giving her any hope. It is precisely this kind of desperation that drives Goei-Yenya, who is already introverted and has nothing to rely on, to the extreme. Even in such an extreme state, Goei-Yenya did not harm Chengge. Isn't that enough to illustrate the problem? To some extent, Goei-Yenya is a tragic character. She has no friends, nor anyone to confide in. Her world is very small, it can only accommodate one person. When this person appears, she can only focus all her energy and thoughts on the person she likes. She is an extremely dedicated and serious girl. Having experienced many ups and downs in his past life, Shinzo Kanzaki naturally saw the key to it. As long as Goei-Yenya's mentality is stabilized, so that she does not fall into the abyss of despair, it is equivalent to gaining a goddess for nothing. Chengge laughed at me for not having enough time, I laughed at Chengge for not being able to persevere. After calming down, Shinzo Kanzaki quickly adopted the most suitable strategy. He wants to conquer this girl. Guide this sickly and extremely dedicated goddess. Although Shinzo Kanzaki is also known as Shin, he will definitely not repeat Shingo's mistakes. In this life, he wants to be a different Chengge. After thinking for a moment, Shinzo Shinzaki returned to normal, and even his handsome face unconsciously held a soft smile. Facing Goei-Yenya, there must be no attitude of disdain or disgust at all. This girl received countless looks and disdain during her middle school career. She is very sensitive to this attitude, even the slightest bit can be felt by her. This instinctive resistance and disgust arising from ignorance is the greatest harm to her. At least in the early stages of the strategy, Shinzo Kanzaki needs to show enough patience and gentleness in order to enter the heart of Katsuya. Shinzo Shinzaki raised his hands and gently lowered them, patting Gianai's back with a smile. Although I helped you, don't be so excited, do you? His voice is light yet warm. Goei-Yenya's fair earlobes quietly climbed up with a blush, burying her head in front of his chest without saying a word. She hates socializing and also hates men with inexplicable motives. Facing the boy in front of her, Goei instinctively made such an intimate gesture. It was not just Shinzo who was surprised or even panicked. Goei himself, at this time, his brain is in a state of freezing. Why am I so excited when this is just a normal move? Is it because of him? When Shinzo Kamasaki pushed away that disgusting guy. At the moment when he looked at himself with a smile on his lips, Goei had to admit it. She was a bit tempted. It turns out that when he was gentle, he was so dazzling. Especially when this tenderness is treating her alone. The boy's deep eyes were devoid of any special gaze or intention. For Goei, this is a precious respect like a treasure. Will I actively embrace him, perhaps subconsciously craving for sunshine? After all, his smile is really warm like sunshine. His chest is really like the sun myself. It seems like I've been in the dark for a long, long time. Goei longs for respect, and even more so, for someone to become her friend. She, who has always been introverted and shy, doesn't know how to answer. Explain why you want to hug him. Wouldn't that be more awkward? And explained, isn't it about leaving this warm chest? I don't want it. So even if she heard Shinzo's sarcastic remarks clearly, she remained silent. All she can do is bury her head deeper. As if afraid of others seeing her shyness and blushing pretty face. She wrapped her hands around Shinzo's back. A small soft catkin, but with increasing force. It's as if afraid that Shinzo will push her away. She is very shy, but she doesn't want to leave this warm chest. She hopes that Shinzo Kanzaki can read her heart. Although she herself finds this idea ridiculous, they haven't seen each other many times. Even for this short moment, Gai Yen regarded it as the warmest light. I hope. Don't get to school so fast. Gai silently prayed from the bottom of her heart. Without receiving an answer from Goei, Shinzo only felt the two small hands behind him quietly exerting force. Shinzo's smile at the corner of his mouth became even more brilliant. Because he understood Goei inner thoughts. His hand gently landed on Goei back, patting slowly, as if coaxing a child to sleep. He didn't continue speaking either. The crowded crowd inside the tram was not much noise, but the silence and tranquility of this moment, as well as the warmth of the two. He also wants to enjoy it well. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Chengge's methods, kneeling for flower evaluation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The quiet time did not last long. The tram has arrived at the station. The sound of the bell rang in the carriage, and Shinzaki Makoto patted Gianai's little head and said softly, "We're at the station, we need to get off now." Goei-yen's delicate body trembled, her black and white eyes full of reluctance and resentment. She felt like just a few seconds had passed. Oh no, not a single second. How could it end? She reluctantly left Shinzo's chest. When the two of them looked at each other, Goei-yen's pretty face blushed. She is still so shy. But her mouth curved slightly, and she took the initiative to burst into a bright smile. "Senior Kanzaki, thank you very much." Her voice had an instinctive weakness, and her tone was full of gratitude. As if forgetting all the previous initiatives, only remembering the help of Shinzo. Upon hearing these words, Shinzaki Cheng's expression froze. How could she know herself? It seems that his predecessor did not have any contact with Goei-yenye in his impression, did he? Isn't memory fusion complete? Yet looking at Shinzaki Cheng in a daze, Goei-yenye chuckled for the first time. Goei-yenye's smile is really beautiful. She is not like an ordinary girl, and every move of Goei-yenye carries a gentlemanly demeanor. This brilliant smile makes people subconsciously infected by her smile. Senior doesn't remember me, do you? That's right, I don't have any intersection with senior. However, my senior and I are from the same high school. The middle school here refers to junior high school. Shinzo Kanzaki really doesn't remember having an intersection with Katsura Yoshiba, and doesn't even know that she and he were in the same junior high school. Helpless, he could only show an awkward and polite smile. My predecessor was not as decadent as he is now when he was in junior high school. In junior high school, my predecessor was completely a male god. I am diligent in my studies, always ranked first in every exam, and always win various excellent awards and titles. I have private experience in sports such as baseball, basketball, and football. Whether it's student union or club activities, I have done quite well in my past life during middle school. Apart from being somewhat introverted, the predecessor of middle school was simply a perfect school grass. Unfortunately, it becomes completely different in high school. This change is truly earth-shattering. The specific reason is a long story. Of course, Shinzo Kanzaki wouldn't really say he doesn't know each other. A mature soul quickly transforms an awkward smile into enthusiasm. Shinzaki joked, "No, Yenyi was wrong. I noticed you during middle school. Although Yenyi didn't perform well at that time, I think you were a very good student." Bang! 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 Gue Yenya listened to Shinzaki Cheng's gentle words, and unconsciously her heart beat densely and violently like a drum. The blush on her face was a bit intense, and her white and rosy skin made her even more stunning. My senior knows me in middle school. He started paying attention to himself. Gue Yenya even subconsciously overlooked the problem with Shinzo Kanzaki's title. Generally speaking, two people are not familiar with each other and should be addressed by surname. For example, Gue Yenya shouted, "Senior Kanzaki." Normally, Shinzo Kanzaki should refer to Katsura Yashiteru as Katsura Yashiteru, but when he called by name, Gue Yenya didn't realize it was inappropriate at all. Even she felt a hint of joy in her heart. Calling her surname was not as intimate as calling her name. Even if Shinzaki Cheng didn't explicitly state this meaning, Guy and I instinctively understood it this way. Really? Do seniors really think so? Gue Yenya was shy with a hint of anticipation, and her flickering little eyes clearly hoped for a positive answer. Without hesitation, Shinzo nodded and said seriously, "Of course, Yenya is a very excellent girl." Once again receiving an accurate response, Gue Yenya's smile was bright, and her inner liking for Shinzo Kanzaki had increased significantly. The crowd was crowded, and the two of them followed the crowd and walked out of the tram. Walking out of the tram station, the school is not far away, and even looking up can see the school gate. Shinzo Kanzaki deeply understands that superficial praise is useless. It may even be understood as clichés. Just like those who have long admired famous names and so on. So, based on his past life memories and years of personal experience, tell some specific examples without revealing any trace. For example, Gue Yenya was isolated and neglected, excluded, and understood as a young lady's temper, and so on. Shinzo Kanzaki did not specify when or what happened. After all, he really doesn't have any memories of Gue Yenya's junior high school. But he specifically grasped these points, spoke in general terms, and communicated with Gue Yenya in sophisticated and extremely suggestive language. Now Guy and I's liking for Shinzo Kanzaki is even higher. From the words of the senior, it can be accurately inferred that he was not just perfunctory. He truly understands himself and pays attention to himself. The words spoken by Shinzo Kanzaki are all from the perspective of Katsuyoshi, using a deeper understanding to explain and comfort Katsuyoshi. This obvious favoritism can easily trap the introverted Guy and I into Shinzo's calculations. No surprise, just this short journey. Guyan's liking for Shinzo Kanzaki has almost reached its peak. She swore that she had never met a boy who could understand, comfort, and release herself so well. When this boy was still the senior he longed for in middle school. This kind of favorability will quickly transform into dependence. When she arrived at the door, Goe-Yenya took out her phone and asked for the phone number from Shinzaki. Shinzaki smiled slightly and told her the number. The relationship between the two began to have the first point of connection. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Shenyi Private High School. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Because the teaching floors of the first and third year of high school are in different places, the two can only bid farewell first. So, senior, I'll leave first. Goe-Yenya bid farewell to Shinzo Kanzaki with reluctance. To what extent do we feel reluctant to part ways? Goe-Yenya almost looks back every few steps she takes. And Kawasaki remained in place, silently smiling as she watched Gi and I leave. This heartwarming move is like bringing Goe-Yenya a few steps closer to the fall. Until her pretty figure completely disappeared in front of Shinzo, he turned around and walked towards the teaching building in his third year of high school. Sick and delicate girls, although it can be terrifying to explode, are also the easiest strategies to conquer. Shinzaki Shin sighed as he walked. The existence of personality traits like Goe-Yenya, who are prone to outbreaks of illness, is simply disadvantageous as long as their weaknesses are grasped. Even if one carefully summarizes, it can be found that the vast majority of anime female leads in their past lives have obvious weaknesses to some extent. Either they have an introverted personality and are ostracized by others. Most of them are influenced by family factors and are not good at socializing. Either pretending to be strong, but actually feeling weak inside, most of these are those who have experienced unbearable sadness. Usually, these weaknesses are deeply hidden and will never be discovered by anyone. So most people don't even understand their inner selves. But Shinzo is different. So, the memory advantage of the traveler is itself a natural and invincible golden finger. As long as the medicine is targeted, it is basically a case of catching one accurately. Shinzaki shook his head and put these thoughts behind him. He looked at this high school with curious eyes. Every building is decorated with a unique style, and not a single building is repetitive. And the walls outside the building are all brand new, clean and impeccable. This indicates that there are people who take responsibility for cleaning every day. As my gaze turned, the area of this high school was surprisingly large. By the standards of previous lives, this is already the size of a university. And it's not just an ordinary university, but a key university in terms of scale. The students who came and went dressed neatly, each one shining brightly, and their spirits were particularly high. Just this spirit in spirit, if these students are not from wealthy families, they are also among the top elites in the country. It truly deserves to be the top private high school. Shinzaki sighed inwardly. Shenyi Private High School, also known as Shenyi Private High School. It is the most famous private high school in Kyoto and also the most famous in the entire country. Its teaching resources are very comprehensive. From learning to extracurricular activities, to clubs, every part is done very carefully. And it is not simply pursuing learning, but rather focusing on cultivating well-rounded talents. So its entertainment activities are many and rich. In addition to campus cultural festivals, there are also sports festivals and various evening parties throughout the year. Every year, 30% of Kyoto University's enrollment comes from Shenyi Private High School. And the proportion of students admitted to key universities at Shenyi Private High School is as high as 60% every year. It can be imagined how noble its position is in high schools across the country. What is even more talked about is the tuition fees of Shenyi Private High School. Matching the excellence of Shenyi Private High School is its high tuition fees. Unless you are a top-ranked student in the national exam, you will have to pay a high fee to be able to enter this high school. Attention, it's just possible. If you want to make 100% steady progress without relying on grades. Only the children of top-notch conglomerates and aristocratic families can achieve this. So, besides top students everywhere, there are also many wealthy children at Shenyi Private High School. For this reason, in order not to offend these wealthy families, Shenyi Private High School attaches great importance to the opinions and attitudes of its students. Therefore, the student union is a very powerful presence in this high school. If Makoto Kanzaki remembers correctly, Yukichi Koki was the head of this student union. In my impression, Zeng Xuecai did not come from a wealthy family. It indicates that she campaigned purely based on her personal strength. You can imagine her position in the hearts of the students in this high school. If there is a goddess ranking list, Koki Zenko is definitely one of the top performers. Especially now, the anime culture is popular among the younger generation, and many people are otaku. Infected by the anime culture, they will naturally subconsciously regard Akira Kogi as the female owner of animation. Even goddesses who worship and worship. Although in fact she is also the female lead of the anime. As Kawasaki walked and thought, he unconsciously walked to the teaching building in his senior year of high school. However, when he appeared in the senior high school teaching building, many people who saw him covered their mouths and looked surprised. Isn't that Shinzaki Cheng from Class A? He actually came to school. Hey, it's really Kanzaki, this is really rare. I guess the principal contacted his parents, that's why he came back, right? Listening to these idle chatter, Shinzaki Cheng's gaze flickered as he looked at the group of people whispering. When his gaze swept away, these people immediately stopped discussing. Here, behind the scenes, it is said that people are your freedom. But speaking in front of people is disrespectful. This is a country that values respect and rules, and once such a situation occurs, the school will take it seriously. However, many of the girls even showed a slight blush of shyness. At first, Shinzo Kanzaki was stunned for a while, but soon he shook his head with a dumbfounded smile. He almost forgot that he was also a celebrity at Shenyi Private High School. Not only is it his glorious record of skipping classes continuously, but also his extremely handsome appearance. Looking at the face, as a human instinct, is ubiquitous. If it were said that Akira Koki became the goddess in the hearts of boys due to her power and beauty, so Shinzo Kanzaki became the male god in the hearts of many girls with his glorious deeds and handsome appearance. After all, high school is the time when teenagers have the strongest rebellious mentality. The more you resist authority, the more outstanding you will appear. Even though one knows it's not good, it still gives off an inexplicable charm. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. First meeting, Koki Zeng Xuecai. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 10. More than one goddess in Class A of Senior High School. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Koki Zeng Xuecai was filled with depression, while Shinzo Kanzaki sat down peacefully. To be honest, he didn't do it on purpose. He did have some interest in Koki Zenkai, but it was just a complex. For example, in the past, many people wanted to go to the capital to see the Great Wall and to France to see the Iron Tower. It's not because of how much I like it, it's just a simple emotion. There are many beautiful girls, just looking at how to get them. Kawasaki never denies that he is a chauvinist and his personality leans towards dominance. The practice of being favored by goddesses when licking dogs is absolutely impossible for Shinzo Kanzaki. Shortly after he took his seat, the bell for class also rang. The first class is mathematics. Kanzaki, like in his previous life, had little interest in mathematics. Fortunately, his math grades have always been good. And he realized that perhaps his golden fingers were not just limited to past life memories and super memory. When he opened the exercises, many obscure and difficult formulas and examples quickly integrated into his mind, like complex machinery unfolding one by one before his eyes. He even opened another problem set that was far more difficult than high school level. Similarly, these difficulties were quickly overcome by his learning ability. Due to his travels, his spiritual power has become much stronger than that of ordinary people. His ability to learn, understand, and adapt far exceeds that of ordinary people. A thick exercise book, he doesn't even need to read or complete it all. As long as that question appears in front of him, his brain quickly recognizes and finds a solution like a computer. He quickly put down his textbook and exercises, and turned his gaze to look out the window at the scenery. Slowly, his brain became heavier and heavier. Staying up late yesterday was a bit tiring. Let's take a nap first. Shinzaki quietly lay on the table and soon fell asleep. Fortunately, he doesn't have the habit of snoring, otherwise if he were to snore in class, he would truly become a celebrity in the school again. After sleeping for an unknown amount of time, he gradually regained consciousness in a daze. But he didn't get up and still lay on the table. The teacher on stage had already noticed that Shinzo was sleeping, but he was also helpless. Shinzo Kanzaki skipped high school for 3 years, but still hasn't been fired and hasn't even been relegated. It can be imagined that Shinzo Kanzaki's background is very hard. If one is not careful, they may even ruin their own job. The math teacher suppressed her anger and focused her energy on teaching. The classroom of high school seniors is mainly focused on practice. So he naturally began to create some exercises and asked his classmates in the audience to answer them. The math problems on the blackboard are a bit tricky, and the students below are all frowning and pondering. Even Xuecai, who has always been known for his excellent academic performance, frowned and calculated. When the math teacher says that sentence and calls for someone to answer, everyone gave a thud and instinctively became flustered in their hearts. If you don't know how to be called out, it would be very embarrassing. Please stand up for a top student, don't let the teacher shout by name. But reality often goes against their imagination. Soon, the math teacher picked up the starting list and started calling for people to get up and answer. There are 5 questions on the blackboard. The math teacher called out the names of 4 people one after another. These 4 people are all top students in the class, so although they hesitate when standing up. But the answer was quickly calculated. Only the last question remains, which is also the most difficult one among the 5 questions. The math teacher glanced at a student who was lost in thought. His face darkened and he said in a muffled voice, "Xia Jiqiu Shiyu, please answer this question." The teacher's voice is not loud, but everyone can hear it clearly. Including Shinzaki Shin. When he heard the name, he was instantly awakened and his whole body came to consciousness. He turned his gaze to the beautiful figure slowly standing up. That Shenyi was wearing her usual school uniform, but she didn't wear knee-high stockings. Instead, she chose enticing black stockings. All the other girls in this high school dress similarly. But wearing this ordinary school uniform on her, she looked different from the others. The reason is that this girl is too beautiful. Her beauty is different from the obedience of Gue Yenya, and also from the gentleness of Xiaomu Zeng Xuecai. But it's a completely enchanting beauty. If Gue Yenya is a pitiful neighbor girl, and Xiaomu Zeng Xuecai is a gentle and kind princess, then she is the seductive and charming imperial sister, with every frown and cluster emitting a suffocating charm. Her facial features are delicate and charming, and her tall figure is curvy and graceful. The black-green hair has a white headband, and the long hair is unadorned, naturally hanging between the shoulders and collarbones. As she stood up, her orange eyes changed from confusion to a hint of timidity. It is obvious that she does not know this question. Shinzaki looked at her with a sigh in his heart. I didn't expect. Even she appeared. Xia Jiqiu Shiyu, nicknamed Senior Sister, is a literary girl who appears gentle on the outside but also has a bit of a dark belly. Like Akira Koki, she is also one of the most famous female leads in anime from her past life. At Shenyi Private High School, although Zayazikyu Shiyu's fame is not as loud as that of Xiaomuzing Xuecai. However, her attractiveness and level of attention are not much worse among the male population than Xiaomuzing Xuecai. Without him, we can only blame this world that looks at faces. The beauty of Xia Zhiqiu Shiyu is beyond doubt, and even more mesmerizing than that of Xiaomuzing Xuecai is her imperial sister's temperament. It seems that there are still many surprises in this world, waiting for me to discover. Shinzo Kanzaki silently murmured a sentence. He really didn't expect that Zayazikyu Shiyu would also appear in this world. So if she appears, wouldn't Inli also appear? Shinzaki's heart warmed as he increasingly looked forward to the days ahead. Requesting a flower evaluation ticket, woo-woo. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.